To be honest, I don't really know in detail. I wouldn't have a clue.
I imagine it would be some sort of housing initiative from the community. That'd be my guess.
Don't know. Do I understand that?
What is community-led housing?
I'd imagine community-led housing would be where the community could help people that are struggling to find accommodation within the local community.
It responds to what the community wants and what they need, so it's different for each community.
It does hark back to when communities were balanced and mixed.
Community-led housing is really important right now. There is a serious housing crisis. It's for the communities to really take charge and build the homes that they need rather than waiting for homes to be delivered.
So the community gets control over who lives there, so they can target it to their real needs.
Southmead is a very special place. Over my 80-odd years, I've seen it change and change for the better. As far as we can tell, this is one of the biggest resident-led housing developments in the country.
And it's going to provide 120 1- and 2-bedroom homes, regenerated centre of the area with health centre, library and community facilities.
I didn't grow up here, but I have been here 50 years. If you're in a large town, people often have quite a strong sense of community. In somewhere like Marshfield, while we aren't very big, there is a real divide between people who've moved in here compared to perhaps people who've been brought up in the village.
It's about 50 homes on site, so they're flats and they're houses, 1 bedroom, 4 bedrooms. About half of them are shared ownership, so for people who are struggling to get onto the housing ladder and buy their first house. And the other half are affordable rent. The letting policy particularly encourages people from Lockleys, the local area, to access those houses.
The reason I love this area is because of Eastville Park. So for me, it all came together. When this project came up, I thought, that's where I want to live. There's a mixture of people who live here. There are families with children. There are single people, couples.
So we moved in it's about 4.5 years ago now. So my eldest was 4. That's when it started. So we moved in when the project started and these houses were empty shells.
This part was identified as a huge green space that was underused, that attracted antisocial behaviour and basically was ripe for development. The community have been involved right from the start. Everything that we have done as a group has been driven by the community, for the community.
Well, it sort of got decided by the community because there was a massive problem with some housing which was going to be built by a developer, but the village were very strongly opposed to it and the developers backed off. But that still left us with a problem because we have very high house prices. So for local people, when their children grow up and want to live here, the houses are often pushing them away from the village. So there was both a housing need and a social need.
Primarily it's a way to get on the housing ladder for us. For me, there was something a lot bigger about moving into a community which had kind of community at the heart of it. We'll be a kind of a neighbourhood where we've got our own space and we've got our own doors, but we'll know people around us and it will just be like a dream place to live.
With my eldest, I'd already moved house 6 times by the time he was 4. I'd had a lot of instability. We were looking for affordable housing solutions. So these houses are shared ownership. When we found out about this scheme, we didn't have to kind of drum up as much money to get a deposit down. So that's what got us into it.
Biggest challenge is funding. Basically to make sure that build cost is going to generate the revenue that is needed to reinvest in and around Southmead.
The biggest challenge facing the board was to find some land to build on. We are surrounded by green belt, we're in an area of outstanding natural beauty, and there is a constant hope amongst people who own land that their land might become available for the allocation of housing. And if that happens, it's selling for a small fortune.
It's been a real struggle, I think, for Bristol Community Land Trust to make the project work. But, you know, we've been involved since 2013. Moving into the house and being able to buy it has slipped gradually backwards and backwards.
We do struggle to make decisions as a community, and I think that communication can sometimes be an issue. Basically, it's just about learning to live with other human beings.
So that can be a challenge at times, but that's the thing which is the payoff at the same time.
So the hub's here to support and give technical and non-technical advice to community groups, trying to uncomplicate community-led housing. The areas we work in is Bristol, South Gloucestershire, North Somerset and Bath and North East Somerset. The hub can provide and help with financial modelling and has access to financial viability software so that we can do a lot of the pre-planning.
We can be the custodian of land, so we can purchase land on behalf of communities and enable them to then develop that as they wish. Another important area that we work in is with local authorities and also private developers to try and deliver more affordable homes that can be delivered with communities rather than just imposed on communities.
We also have access to funding.
We work out how much the project is going to be. We work with consultants, quantity surveyors, architects to drill down on the details, and we get it to where it works within that budget, within those constraints.
My role is to act as a conduit between local residents, the wider community, and also the resident steering group.
I'm here as somebody who has practical experience of the process. I can translate the complexity of it to lay people in a way that they can understand.
The purpose of what we do is to help communities deliver community-led housing.
We've spent an awful lot of time in the last 5 years working on this project, and to see it come to fruition would be the icing on the cake.
I think there's been 2 points of real excitement. The first was when we went to the village and said, do you support us? And we got this resounding yes. The second has been getting the planning application in, but the real excitement will come when we've got planning and when we've got the buildings there and we see people moving in.
One of the things about the Sheldon Road project, which is really amazing, is the self-finish aspect to it. 6 months before we actually buy our houses, we will do the final touches. So we're doing the tiles, putting in the kitchens, decorating. We're not just doing it on our own houses, but we're working in teams on each other's houses. I'm just so excited about when we actually move in and we know everyone around us.
We fitted the kitchen, we did the tiling, put the floors in, painted it all. I think being able to really leave my mark on my home has been really important. I've just made it as individual as I can. And you can't do that when you're living in rented accommodation.
For me, it's living with all my neighbours and having this beautiful big space outside because we have beautiful children running around and animals running around in it.
Basically, what you've got to do is identify what you want, how you want to do it, and then take the residents along with you.
You've got to have that commitment to your community. I think that's more important than the technical stuff in some ways. You can ask other people about the technical stuff, but you have to have that urge to be part of your community.
The process itself was not easy at all. The advice I would give is to stick to it. Be prepared to be in it for the long haul, but stay in it because it's worth it in the long run.
No regrets, no. It's way better than living on your own in a little box, not knowing your neighbours.